Hey guys, Rob from Georgia here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe with episode 4. Yes, I did have to look. Only because I got so far out ahead of myself. Now I feel like I'm sort of playing catch up, but not really, although I am in a way, because this episode, the one that I hope you're clicking on and watching, should have already been up as of midnight. But it's one of those things where I thought I still had one dropping and did not, and so here we go. Got to run through this, upload it, hopefully without any problems. You know how that goes. Plus, I just came home from Alien Romulus, which I'm going to do a video for my something weird, just a thought. I'm going to do that in case you're wondering about or curious about that. So, anyways, Vatos. That's how you say it. Vatos. Dude, I love this freaking episode, man. Episode 4, directed by Johan Renck, if that's how you say his name. Written by Robert Kirkman. It dropped November 21st, 2010. And in terms of what Johan Renck is up to right now, or at least in production, and I hope everything's running smooth with it, because it's got me intrigued. And that is a new adaptation of The Day of the Triffids for Amazon Studios. It looks like an Angry Films is producing. In the past, he had actually directed episode 5 of Chernobyl, which everyone tells me I should have seen that when it first came out. I never did. But there's that. So yeah, this episode, man. Okay, so we've had the reunion, right? I gotta try to just start getting my mind back in without thinking about Romulus. This is interesting because it's kind of like a double. Is it right to say this double-ended book, or it's book-ended in a double kind of way, which I find just absolutely fascinating. You know, okay, we've had our reunion, but the guns are still. The bag of guns are still back there. Of course, we got to go back for Merle. And so, you know, Rick decides to, you know, lead this effort back in order to, well, I don't know in order to, but in so doing, begins to win the trust of Daryl. All right, to get these names back in. And so, which, you know, that is amazing, because it's like Daryl's... He's rational enough to be able to look at Rick and see, I think, here's somebody who's just flat out telling me the truth, and there's something genuine about it, and I can accept it. It's like when you're in the episode and they're talking about, you know, going after Merle when they're in the department store again, after having found that he is gone from the rooftop, and his hand has been cut off, of course, in order for him to get out of there. You know, Rick makes his plea with Daryl for them to stay together and they can help each other, and but they need to calm down. And Daryl all but agrees, I can do that. And so, you know, so there's this great moment where they're sort of planning and scheming, how are we going to get these bags, and then of course turn their attention to Merle. And so, you know, Glenn sort of schemes and plans this whole thing out. And it's so great because in the midst of, you know, in terms of laying out who's where, you know, how it's all going to flow, there's a great callback to Dawn of the Dead, the remake. Daryl looks at Glenn and he's like, "What did you do before all of this?" And he's like, "Oh, gee whiz, what did he say?" I said, "Oh, a pizza delivery guy, right?" Well, that reminds me of Dawn of the Dead, the remake, where a similar question is aimed at, is it Michael? I think it was, his name was Michael. You know, what did you do? You know, because he's sort of taking initiative and lead on how they're going to do, you know, what it is they're doing. And he's like, "What did you do before all of this?" And he's like, "I sold TVs." So I just thought that was a great callback if you would have caught it, if you caught it. And it seems like, I don't know if I'll think of it or not, but it seems like there was another one in there as well, maybe to Dawn of the Dead as well. Anyways, so the plan is they go get the bag, everyone's set up, but of course, you know, no matter how well planned, sometimes, you know, plans just fall apart. And this one is because there was another group of people aiming to get the same bag of guns. And yeah, okay, I almost jumped ahead of myself. I'm not going to go like weave way through the whole thing, but just to kind of set it into motion. They, in the attempt to get the guns, of course, these other people sort of show up, throws everything out of whack. Glenn is kidnapped by these people, but Rick and them have one of them as well. This leads to 2 visitations to these people where they're sort of held up, where they're camped out, right? And the first one does not go over well because Guillermo, the leader, played by Neil Brown Jr. I thought this guy was freaking awesome. I don't think he stole the show. I think there's someone else, but he was great. I really dug his performance. And he basically just says, I want my bag of guns, or I'm basically gonna feed your boy Glenn to the dogs. And so they leave and go back to where they're camping out. Back to the department store, I think, somewhere. And Daryl's trying to reason with Rick. This is stupid. Is Glenn worth that much? Is he worth your life? And Rick has said if it wasn't for Glenn, I probably wouldn't be here right now. I was just some stupid person in a tank. And Glenn went out of his way to save me. I'm in debt to him, kind of thing. And Daryl's like, well, is it worth giving up, the guns? And of course, Rick's like, I didn't say that. So the second meeting, they go back with the kid, and with locked and loaded, and again, massive standoff. They're just inside the building where these guys are all camped out, and Rick's no nonsense, man. He's just no nonsense guy. He just basically pushes the kid to Guillermo and just says, even trade. We want Glenn back. And there's this huge standoff, and Guillermo's not going to give in. And it's what do we call it? Like a Mexican standoff, if that doesn't rub anyone the wrong way. When the old lady, grandma, or someone's grandma, it might be Guillermo's grandma, suddenly comes out of nowhere and pulls the rug out from under the whole thing. It's so great because apparently they're housed up there, taking care of those who are left behind in a nursing home, and so which makes Guillermo someone who rises above everything to do something extremely honorable, and which makes his character very sympathetic. And very much understandable when everything sort of is laid out, right? And so the grandmother is such an awesome scene. So she kind of gets in between Guillermo and Rick, and she kind of, she's like, what do you want my boy for? What do you want my son for? Or my grandson for? And he's like, and I love how Rick plays it, man. Rick is just like, ma'am, your boy's there. He's just trying to help me locate a missing person. So we were in, and it comes out, the grandma realizes it must, Glenn must be the guy they're after. Whoa, we got him right back. He's right back, and she just grabs Rick by the hand and just, the whole thing is so great. The look on Guillermo's face is just it's just great. It's like, it's just awesome. So of course, they get back there and they realize this whole situation, and once the totality of all just sort of falls on Rick's shoulders. I love it when Rick just looks at Guillermo and just says, "Can I have a word with you?" And they go up to the side, and it's a great episode. It's some great writing. It's some great acting. It's some great just situational acting, I guess, and. It's just great. It's just great. Okay, so the book ends. So, we begin with Andrea and Amy out on the boat on the water, reflecting on Dad and how he taught them both to fish, but he taught them quite differently from one another. And it becomes a very, very, very heartfelt moment when they both realize why. Of course, remember, Amy's birthday is the next day. Andrea had found the necklace in the department store. And so you kind of got that set up, knowing something bad is probably going to happen, and that's foreshadowed with the inner bookend, with Jim is out on the up on the hillside or whatever, just digging holes, man, and he doesn't know why, and that becomes its own sort of, you know, inner thing. Of course, you kind of got the aftermath of I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy who was beating up his wife, Shane ends up pummeling into the ground. You know, Jim kind of when they try to intervene, and because they don't understand why Jim is doing what he is doing, Jim kind of, you know, is freaking out because he doesn't even really know. It's a dream. He has a dream, and it sort of foreshadows something really terrible that's coming. And just my thoughts. I keep thinking about Romulus. I can't stop thinking about Romulus. And so, you know, Shane's has to handcuff him and you know, basically, you know, subdue him. And Jim is like, you're just going to do the same thing to me you did to, you know. And he sort of makes a plea to everyone else, but everyone else is like, dude, you weren't there. You don't know what he was doing to his wife. And so, you know, you kind of got those dynamics a little bit, which are interesting, but ultimately Jim comes to his senses. He still can't understand or remember why he's digging the holes. And so then you got sort of, you know, the calm before the storm. You kind of go back and forth, you know, a little bit. You know, you go back with, you know, Rick and them, they kind of, you know, Rick ends up giving a few guns to Guillermo, and they head off to where they left the vehicle. The vehicle's gone. The assumption is Merle has taken it. Now the fear is Merle is headed towards camp with vengeance. So they are in an accelerated pace to get back as quick as they can. You kind of forward a little bit. You're getting into the evening. There's a campfire. You're at the camp, and of course, there's much to be said about. You just have to forgive me. I can't. I can't think of his name. The older guy there. The older guy. Just you have to be patient with me today. But the deal on his watch and why he sets his watch, which is a great moment. He quotes William Faulkner. Which is just a great moment. And he gets up to go to the bathroom, and again, forgive me, I can't remember the guy's name. The guy who had been beating his wife. Of course, he basically sulking in his tent, man, just the whole night. And you don't know where all that's headed, man. But in a way, thankfully, we don't have to worry about it, because he is the first victim of these zombies closing in on the camp. And as they go into the tent and start feasting on him, Amy, unfortunately, zombie comes up and grabs a hold of her arm and just digs in. Of course, that's Greg Nicotero, right? And apparently he was concerned just with the appliances and where the appliances were on her. Didn't want any mistakes, any accidents, anything like that. So he handled the effect himself in terms of carrying it out, which is just great. But if you look at him close enough, you can tell it's Greg Nicotero, which is a great callback to him. He deserves a cameo from time to time, right? For all the work he puts into this. And so, you know, hell is unleashed, and they're fighting, they're scrambling, and it's just horrific to the nth degree. Rick and them don't get back to, you know, you don't know what would have happened if Rick and them don't get back, but it seems like get in at the nick of time, and they're able to put down the rest of the zombies. And in the end, you have your final, well, your bookend to conclude the episode, and that is, of course, Andrea weeping over her sister, the loss, which is so convincing. So I don't know what it was, but when I rewatched it, I think it was yesterday. I think I rewatched it yesterday. It tugged on me in a way it had not tugged on me, and I don't know. I was got really bothered by that sense of loss, and then finalized with Jim suddenly in the aftermath of all of this horror says, you know, I remember now. I remember why I dug the holes. And that's it. And it's like, wow. It's just well written, well executed. I know it's got to be that episode's got to be the highlight. Oh, I forgot earlier on when Glenn is going after the bag. He starts to move away, and then he remembers. He turns. Rick's hat is his hat is there on the pavement, and so he turns, makes a decision to go back and get the hat, which is just a great moment. A great moment in the show. So. Just and you know, I think I looked at the trivia on IMDb, and is this true? They said this was the first time we actually see the zombies eating people. So that's interesting. You got that. I think Jim, what a standout. Jim, oh God, what is his name here? Rothenberg, guy who plays Jim. Just an absolutely fantastic job. So, great episode. Let's see, that's 4. There's only 2 left. Concludes season 1, and then we jump into season 2. So, thank you for your patience. And now I got to reset my mind and spend a few minutes talking about Alien Romulus. So, check that out if you would, if you're interested. Non-spoilers initially, and then I'll roll into spoilers, I'm sure, to a degree. So as always, we end these things off with Go Dogs.
This is not a dream. It might be useful to